Hi, it's your $2 Tuesday movie critic here, and today I am going to be reviewing the movie The Wedding Ringer. Now I know what you're thinking, this movie hasn't come out yet, it won't be out until January 2015, and that is correct. But I was fortunate enough to be one of the few that got a chance to get a free screening of it. And so I just had to give you guys my review on what I thought of it. Now, this is not, and I repeat, this is not a romantic comedy. Even though it involves a wedding, it is more of a bromance, a romantic comedy. It's a really funny movie. I mean, laugh out loud funny. It was great. It is, however, rated R for a reason. There is so much cursing in this movie, it's not even funny. So, full disclosure, I didn't know what to expect. I really thought this movie was going to be very cliche, getting the easy laughs or a bunch of slapstick comedy, you know. But I have to admit, there wasn't any of that. I mean, it was completely cliche. I mean, there are not really any surprises in this movie, just so you know. But it is very funny, and what I realized after about like middle of the movie is that Kevin Hart is not a physical comedian. Unlike a lot of the comedians that are out now, he doesn't do physical comedy. His comedy is pretty much, you know, his voice and his size, you know. And so it was funny. And Josh Gad held his own too. He wasn't the straight man. He held his own in the comedy realm. I think Kelly Cuoco kind of got lost in the whole romance thing going on. But she had her funny moments too. But for the most part, it was about Kevin Hart's character and Josh Gad's character. So, in this movie, Kevin Hart plays Jimmy Callahan. And Josh Gad plays Doug Harris, a groom. And Kelly Cuoco plays the bride, or the bride-to-be. So, basically, Doug is a guy who is as sweet can be, and you'll see that in the movie. They show some examples of that. He's a very sweet guy, but he's also one of those guys that does not have a lot of friends. And based on what's going on, he doesn't have any friends. He doesn't even have any family. So his situation is that he needs at least to have some bachelors for his wedding, because his bride is going full on bridezilla, and she's like, do not do anything to mess up this wedding. And so instead of, you know, coming clean and saying, I don't have any friends, you know, he decides that he's going to try and do everything he can to keep her from knowing that he doesn't have a best man, but also that he doesn't have any groomsmen at all. And she has like it down. She has her bridesmaids. She has all of the other attendees. She has pretty much everything planned out. And he says he has the stuff he needs, but he does not. And of course, if he did, what fun would that be? We wouldn't have a movie, right? So it just goes on where he gets informed about Jimmy Callahan, who happens to be a best man for hire. And Jimmy has been doing this for a while. So not only is Doug happy that he found Jimmy, but he's also happy that he's not the only one that has this problem. So, and then of course from there it just gets funnier and funnier. It is a really funny movie, I have to admit. Yeah, there is cursing in just about every scene, but somehow or another I got past it, and I normally don't like to watch movies with a lot of cursing in them. But and I won't say that it's not salacious, because it is. Sometimes they just curse just to be cursing. So it is very salacious. It is in your face. It is crass in some moments. So yeah, it's there. The part about it that I liked, I guess, or maybe I just got past, because I got lost with the crowd, you know, and the laughter. That sometimes happens when you're in a group watching a movie, is that, you know, it didn't seem to take away from the humor of the movie. And the movie had humor, and it also had heart. I like the fact that each of the comedians, especially Josh Gad, or I should say Doug and Jimmy, had this bromance going on. And it wasn't initial, of course, because Jimmy's doing everything he can to fight it. He plays Bick, which is the name that Doug gave him. It is just so funny, especially when you see how he comes up with the name. But it's a very, very funny movie. I would suggest to anybody, if you like Kevin Hart movies, this one is no exception. You will like it. I would not take my child to see this, nor would I take my teenager. Surprisingly enough, there's only one nude scene in this movie, and it's very brief. And for the most part, the cursing is the thing that made it a rated R movie, because it's just in there everywhere. There were some sexual scenes, but there was no nudity. And the one of the scenes, I have to say, this is the one that I dislike the most of the scenes, and it's the scene involving the guys at the Bachelor party with the K9 and the I won't go into detail because I don't want to give anything away, but I did not like that scene at all. And, you know, take it for what you want when you see it. Some people thought it was funny. I mean, there was a lot of laughing going on. I didn't like it. It's mainly because I am a huge animal lover, and, you know, that just bothered me. So I recommend this movie to people, you know, date night movie. It is funny. Even though it's not romantic, it is still funny. Bros going out with bros, hanging out, whatever. It is a great group movie. If you want to go out with a group of your friends to it, totally great group movie. That is my recommendation for this movie. The two old school movies that I got are both comedies as well. One of them is more of a drama / comedy, but it is also the ultimate bromance movie. This movie is My Bodyguard. Now, this came out in 1980, and it is PG. Actually, it was like one of the first in a series of 80s teen movies that came out, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, and whoever can correct me if I'm wrong, that this is one of the only bromance movies to come out for teens. You know, there were romance movies for the adults and things like that during that time, but there weren't really a lot of bromance movies for teens. This was a total bromance movie, just like, you know, The Wedding Ringer. In the movie, it stars Chris McPeace, who plays Clifford Peach, the boy that's very small for his size and is getting bullied. Adam Baldwin as Linderman, who is a guy that is very large for his size. I mean, seriously, this dude has a shadow on his face. You know, he's growing like almost a beard. And he is, you know, they're all in high school, so I guess it's cool. And then Matt Dillon, who plays Moody the bully. Now, this is the ultimate teen movie. And it was so cool. It's nostalgic. It brings back a lot of memories and things, because it was actually made in the 80s, 1980. And it's just basically a kid, Clifford, who kind of finds himself in the same situation that Doug finds himself in the Wedding Ringer. He doesn't have any friends, you know, and he's a loner. He's smart. He's a very charismatic kind of guy. He just doesn't have any friends, but also he doesn't want to admit that, you know. And then it comes along this moody guy who just decides that, well, he's already, before Clifford makes his appearance, Moody is the bully of the school, and he goes around and he picks on the younger kids and takes their lunch money and anything else he can. And Clifford refuses to do this, which puts him at the top of Moody's kick your butt list. And of course, Clifford decides that I am not going to go down without a fight. And he meets Linderman, who is also a loner, and you know, goes to the school, and he says, you know, let's make a deal. He doesn't try and say, you be my friend or whatever, and pretend like they're friends. He decides, I want to hire you to be my bodyguard. It was so cool, you know? And Lindeman's like, you know, why not? And he does. And of course, Moody is totally intimidated by this huge dude. What high schooler wouldn't be? And plus he has that kind of aura of, I could kill you if I wanted to. But when he smiles, he has just like the sweetest smile. And, you know, there ensues the bromance between Clifford and Linderman. For teen movies, this was the first of its kind for guys. And it just goes on the ultimate play of these guys depending on each other, kind of like, you know, in A Wedding Ringer, where Doug and Jimmy had to depend on each other. Of course, it was first Doug depending on Jimmy because he hired him to do a job. But then Jimmy, along the way, Jimmy has to depend on Doug to play his part. And it's not always easy. Same thing with In My Bodyguard with Clifford and Linderman. Clifford hires Linderman to do a job, but, you know, of course, they're kids. So feelings are going to get in there. And sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing. And it's an ultimate movie. If you've never seen My Bodyguard, see it. It's still a classic to me, and it still holds up. It was great acting. It was just such a cool movie. It was more of a drama than a comedy, but there is comedy in there because it's, you know, a teen movie. So that is my first old school movie. My second old school movie is The Bachelor. And I decided to go ahead and put something in there again about a wedding. Stay with that theme too. And this movie stars Chris O'Donnell as Jimmy Shannon and Renee Zellweger as Ann Arden. And this came out in 1999. And this movie is PG-13. And, you know, it is such a cute movie. So it starts out, you know, with Jimmy, who is totally against being married. He's happy being with Anne, his girlfriend, you know, and them just being together. But when it comes to weddings, he's like totally, you know, against it. He's like a phobia, whatever you want to call it. And when things start getting serious, or too serious, where he realizes that she wants to take things to the next level, the next level, he's like, okay, oh my gosh, it's time for me to figure out some way to get out of this. And then later on, he finds out that he has inherited $100 million. But there is a catch. He has to get married within 24 hours. Now, of course, his obvious choice is Anne, who he knows cares about him and he cares about her. But Anne doesn't want to have any of his crap because basically he just pretty much said the only reason he would marry her is because he had to, or she wanted him to, he felt obligated to, or whatever. So she's not going to want to have anything to do with him. And, you know, then he decides, okay, there are other girlfriends that I've had, and I'm sure some of them thought I was a great guy, and they wouldn't mind marrying me. And, of course, then he goes on, you know, down his list, so to speak, looking for the girls that he once dated. And pretty much none of them want anything to do with him. So then one of his friends gets the bright idea, hey, if we can't get a bride the old-fashioned way for love, how about we get one for money and just put it all out there? Hey, I'm going to inherit $100 million. Who wants to marry me? And they put an ad in the paper. How crazy is that? But it's a comedy, so what do you expect? And, of course, what ends up happening is all these women want to marry him. Jimmy is a very cute guy, so, you know, and he's 20-something in this movie, so, of course, you know, it's not a hard thought that someone wants to marry him. Again, I think this is a very original movie. It starts those, it's not the very start of the romantic comedy, of course, but it starts for me, I think this is one of the first movies that starts that whole romantic comedy with a catch. So it's not necessarily just straight romance in a funny sort of way. There's a catch to it. I liked it. It's one of my favorite Chris O'Donnell movies. It's not the favorite. The favorite Chris O'Donnell movie is Circle of Friends, which is for another time. But this one is so funny, and I love Renee Zellweger in this movie. Even though she doesn't do a lot as much as, I mean, her presence is known because for the most part, that's who Jimmy wants to be with, Anne. But she doesn't really do a lot of acting in this movie. That is my other old school movie. These are really good movies. If you haven't seen them before, go see them. Of course, you won't be able to see The Wedding Ringer until it comes out into 2015. But you can go see the other two. I'm sure they're on DVD by now. You can get them from Amazon. You know, actually, you can actually watch The My Bodyguard for free on YouTube. So that's another thing you can do. Well, I hope you like my reviews today. If you think there are other movies that better, compare to The Wedding Ringer, let me know at the bottom of the screen. Otherwise, I will see you next time.